जैज की कौन सी कोर स्ट्रेंथ थी दैट मेड इट पॉसिबल कि आप इतने डाइवर्स प्लेटफॉर्म्स को लॉन्च कर सकें?
Knowing our customer. I think that our biggest strength is our customer analytics, data, and segmentation, right? That's something that we've worked over the years. Consumer insights business is probably something that we have really heavily invested in.
For people who do not want to do a hardcore corporate job but also want to somehow work with businesses, किस तरह के options exist करते हैं?
You're doing something that you're passionate about, right? And yet it is something which is worth building towards a career.
How does a telco business work and how do you shift that to other platforms and opportunities?
Telco business is something that we started off with, but we are more than a telco now. We are a service co.
Why did Jazz choose lifestyle in particular?
We are a brand that touches all and is relevant to all Pakistanis. The businesses that we want to venture into are things which are relevant to most of the population.
Graduates को आप AI या टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ साथ कौन सी फील्ड्स हैं जिनको टैप करना चाहिए टू बी अहेड ऑफ अदर्स इन द फ्यूचर? Assalamu alaikum, Ali. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Yusra. Thank you very much.
Achha, so first of all, thank you so much for taking the time out and being here. You're serving as the president of Jazz Lifestyle Ventures. मैं actually आपको इंट्रोड्यूस कराने का मौका नहीं दूंगी क्योंकि मैं आपको I'd rather introduce you myself. But what I would want you to tell us is कि it's been a long journey, ठीक है? और मैं भी आपसे यही बात कर रही थी कि for me it seems like the ideal place where you should be after 10-20 years in your career. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But choosing Jazz Lifestyle Ventures, which is fairly a new venture, for this stage of your life, being the president of this organization, what do you think is in this particular venture that made you think कि ये मेरे इस stage of life, इस expertise और इस designation के लिए एक apt choice है?
Yusra, एक तो आपको पहले भी कह रहा था कि I'm an entrepreneur at heart, right? And even very early in my career, I was after my first job, I had my own entrepreneurial stint. And yeah, interestingly, before kind of getting into my master's, there are multiple ventures hain with some success, yet they are the most wonderful memories. So this probably is the ideal state for someone who's entrepreneurial in their general nature and still wants a corporate career. So for me, this is an ideal space to be in, where you get to innovate, where you get to do new things, and yet have the resources that come along from a well-established corporate entity like Jazz to nurture those new businesses that we're looking to build here.
So you've been with Jazz for quite a few years, 8 to be exact. So I'm pretty sure कि आप जिस balance की बात कर रहे हैं वो as an organization Jazz में होगा, तभी आपने being somebody entrepreneurial at heart, you picked Jazz. For people who do not want to do a hardcore corporate job but also want to somehow work with businesses, किस तरह के options exist करते हैं?
So I think the kind of space that you are in, Yusra, right? It is being in a job. I don't know what your commercial arrangement with startup Pakistani is, but nonetheless, you're doing something that you're passionate about, yeah. Right? And yet it is something which is worth building towards a career. Yeah. I would imagine something like this is something that keeps the entrepreneurial possibilities open for you, yet you get to progress and to create equity for yourself in what you're doing, right? So इस वक्त का जो works opportunities हैं for our younger people coming in the workspace, I think they are बेहतरीन हैं. And as you mentioned, long time ago when we were coming out of college, so उस वक्त थोड़ा सा limited होता था, right? So when you look at an MBA graduating class out of LUMS back in the day, so options, there were the FMCG options, there were the banking options, and very few had entrepreneurial aspirations other than the ones who were coming from families who had already had established businesses. Yeah, exactly. So उस लिहाज से देखा जाए, today's environment is far more conducive to people trying to venture on their own, and also working for entities which are run and managed and founded by people who are from the same generation, from the same mindset. So I mean, if I kind of go back, and it would have been a very different journey for a lot of people in that space if those options were available.
अच्छा, ये काफ़ी फॉर्चुनेट चीज़ भी आई थिंक हम सब के लिए. अब यू हैव बीन वर्किंग इन मीडिया since almost the beginning, right? 10 sports में, फिर उसके बाद White Tribe, then eventually Jazz, one of the biggest digital ecosystems of Pakistan. Business wise भी digital economy ने पाकिस्तान की किस तरह से evolve किया है, and how it has opened more opportunities, थोड़ा precisely अगर हम देखें youngsters के लिए.
So देखिए, I think immense new opportunities are out there now, right? So अगर मैं आपको jazz के ही point of view से दूँ, why is jazz getting into these businesses, right? So we have been the gateway for digital access, right? So whether it is through connectivity, where social media was the primary usage for people using data, and साथ में general search के लिए and research, and these were the primary use cases. Then came the digital businesses. So by virtue of being that highway that people use to access digital assets, it gives us a lot of insights in terms of what is relevant to different segments of society, right? And that's what their behaviors are, how things are changing. So from basically using internet just to get information, to using things online, and now with the right financial tools like financial access, who are Jazz Cash, are one of our own. We know exactly लोगों की जो buying behavior है, that has also changed. Now they're willing to pay for whether it's services, whether it's products that they get online. So if you ask me, this is probably the most opportune time for anyone, whether it's a large organization like Jazz running to build an digital ecosystem, or small businesses to access customers and get them to transact with them digitally. It is a great time, because that shift, that acceptance, broader societal acceptance of paying for digital services, I think that is increasing at a great pace right now.
So what I'm understanding is कि हम normally businesses को समझने के लिए, because I want कि with this podcast people also understand कि Jazz किस business में है और फिर वो किस तरह से आगे move forward कर रहा है. So apparently it's a telecommunication business. लेकिन मुझे याद है काज़िम मुश्तबा भी एक बार हमारी डॉक्टर अदील की क्लास में आए थे, और डिस्कशन यही थी कि जो मेन उसका एक्सट्रैक्ट होता है ना, यू आर गेटिंग कंज्यूमर डेटा. अभी हम बात कर रहे थे, यू ऑल्सो मैंशनड कि आप कंज्यूमर बिहेवियर से फिर आगे यू कैन एक्सट्रैपुलेट दैट टू समहाउ लाइक इन्वेंट न्यू वेंचर्स जहाँ पे आप उसको ट्रैक करके यू कैन प्रोवाइड एंड केटर टू दोज नीड्स ऑफ द कस्टमर्स. सो हाउ डज अ टेलको बिजनेस वर्क, एंड हाउ डू यू shift that to other platforms and opportunities living in Pakistan specifically?
ठीक है. So देखिए, telco business is something that we started off with, but we are more than a telco now. We are a service co, right? And that's not KG. We need to build businesses around our telecom company, our telecom business. It's a backbone. It's something which is a commoditized thing, something that people require, connectivity. And that's a business which gives us the strongest thing that provides us is the ability to interact with customers, to engage with customers, and access to customers, right? Which puts us in a great position to identify business lines which are relevant. And एक digital ecosystem is something that we have set the ambition to establish, right? So आप देखें, आपने pace connectivity provide की. Well, it was voice, now it's data connectivity. Now our fintech arm, Jazz Cash, right? It's mainstream now. पहले होता था जी wallets हैं, लोग P2P transactions के लिए करें. Now it's mainstream. Whether they want to, transact digitally, QR code वाला है, whether it's paying online, you hardly find anyone who does not have a wallet.
Yeah,
anymore,
exactly.
Right? It's
everyone
there.
has it these days.
Yeah. Now with that in play, now the opportunity opens up कि और क्या-क्या चीजें relevant हैं. I'll give you a few examples, right? So what does JLV consist of at this point in time? The Tamasha, which is our entertainment platform. I believe about 56% of Pakistan's population consumes data, or rather would stream online as opposed to traditional mediums. And this was just 17% 4 years ago, right? So that's the rapid behavioral change that we are seeing, right? उसके बाद आपका आ गया Game Now, which is our primary, gaming platform. And then there is music, which is Bajao. Now, if you look at it, so these are all businesses where Pakistani audiences access them. But मैं आपको इसकी एक flip side भी दूँ. Pakistan is a great creators market as well, right? Whether it is TV content, whether it is brilliant music, it is really ranked high in terms of games being created, developed in Pakistan for the global market.
Yeah, it's a huge economy.
Absolutely, right? So we don't necessarily have to restrict ourselves to the Pakistani audiences. We want to be that platform which gives the opportunity for local developers to kind of showcase their work on the global stage, right? In addition to this entertainment vertical that we have, then we have our e-commerce, which is Zar, which is our fashion and lifestyle place. It's a new one. Then it's our insurance play, Fikrfree. And so only 1%, or rather lesser than 1% of Pakistan's GDP is insurance, right? Which in normal, more mature markets is more than 7%, right? So that's the opportunity size. For various reasons, insurance has not been, let's just say, as a behavioral thing, something that as a population we're not attuned to, right? But because we know how the Pakistani customer likes to purchase things, right? We started off with nano insurances, right? Bite-sized things, right? So right now, Fikrfree has about 14 million plus individuals who have subscribed to insurances, whether it's handset insurances, health insurances, very small ticket size. Again, this is habit formation, and people will get tuned to it and they'll realize the advantages of that. And then, you have that journey of going from nano to micro to mainstream products, right? Then there is healthcare, which is Apna Clinic. Again, in my mind, healthcare is a national agenda. It should be a national agenda. Digital access. And we've seen countries like Turkey, and then there's Indonesia, who, problems across the world are the same, but the methods may change, right? Digital outreach is probably one of the things where your requirement, the demand for these services is the most optimal way to increase that, and to increase that outreach exponentially. So we've set it up. Now we are looking of avenues to expand that. I'll be very happy to share that bulk of the orders that we get for our pharmacies and people wanting to consult online are non KLI, or rather non-metro, right? So there is that genuine advantage that we see of people being able to access some of these services, which otherwise, from a ease of accessing the doctors, the consultants, the specialists,
and this is on the digital platform.
This is all a digital
platform. And you would expect
platform.
non-KLI cities may people won't be digitally equipped.
I would have thought so, right? But but that's where need is changing the behavior, right? It's not, हम यही कहते हैं ना पहले कि यार, okay, digitally native people are the early adopters, right? Yeah. So I mean that does hold true. But then again, there is need that drives changing behaviors as well. You provide something, it is more relevant to someone. They would be where traditionally they would be, late to adopting a new thing. But when need drives their usage, you have a changing behavior. Yeah. So now the ambition, and then there is Samosa. Interestingly, it is the app of apps for us. Started off as a self-care application, to digitally serve our jazz customers. Immense traffic. We have about 25 million people visiting every month, 7 million on a daily basis, right? So primary use case, आए balance देखा, कुछ अपनी GSM service related कोई चीज़ उनका prompt है, all of that is easy steps to achieve whatever they require to do, to other engagements. So the idea is that we make Samosa a space which contains all our digital assets, and not even restricted to just our assets, but a place where new digital startups can also showcase their businesses and help them scale.
ठीक है. Speaking of Samosa, so मैंने जितना interact किया, it's basically a customer support. Like you go, and even if you have a feedback or complaint, you go and submit.
That's what it was originally started for. It remains an important use case.
So I've used it for that, and I know you're saying it's expanding. लेकिन जब customer support की बात आती है, तो don't you think it's easier to call somebody instead of downloading an app, which many people in Pakistan are reluctant to do already? मतलब app download करना is kind of a barrier in seeking support from the organization.
So, देखिए, it's behavioral change, and I'll give you 2 examples. हमारा Jazz is 75 million customers. हमने ये देखा कि हमारे बहुत सारे जो customers हैं, हमारी communication, our methods of engaging with them, and you rightly pointed out, people love to call, visit our center or franchise. But then we realized there were certain sections of the population that didn't like doing that, right? वो अपने किसी दोस्त से पूछ लेंगे या वो YouTube पे जाके कोई वीडियो देखेंगे. Or so we realized that population, which we like to call the digital native audiences, you can define it further as the affluent urban youths, are more inclined to, rather than interacting with human, would find solutions digitally. So we introduced Rocks, right? You may have, in your research, would have come across that. It's our brand for the more digitally astute audiences. None of them want call or message. We serve them digitally. They love it. They don't want to hear our voice. They don't want to call us and wait in line. So they're content with that. The product of it's very comprehensive, and a lot of times people, if they want help in navigating that, so that's why we built in our AI tool to help them navigate, and they're happy with that rather than wanting to call someone. So to answer your question, the speed at which you can serve a person digitally, if you optimize that to their satisfaction at times, is easier to do it digitally, and people find it, are comfortable with that. And I'll share a stat. 65% of our data active customers, which is a sizable chunk of our overall base, complain on Samosa rather than calling our call center. Now that explains the changing behavior, so that a bulk of them prefer to reach out to us digitally than necessarily on the call centers and the more traditional ways.
So in my personal experience, because I've been a Jazz user for quite a while, the reason I had to go to Samosa was because there is no accessible helpline, तो मुझे मजबूरन फिर Samosa पे जाना पड़ा, but that was effective. Like, it was very efficient. The issue got resolved. तो I think हम पाकिस्तानियों को बहुत अंडर एस्टिमेट करते हैं. चेंज ऑब्वियसली जब भी आता है इट्स अनकम्फर्टेबल, बट वीव सीन कि डिजिटली भी पाकिस्तानियों ने इवॉल्व कर ही लिया है. एक वक्त ऐसा था कि हमें लगता था कि फार्मर्स के पास स्मार्टफोन्स नहीं हैं, हम किस तरह से टेक इंट्रोड्यूस कराएं, तो वो पेनिट्रेशन भी बढ़ती जा रही है. सेम फॉर दिस काइंड ऑफ डिजिटल अडॉप्शन एज वेल. लेकिन फ्रॉम अ बिजनेस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, having Rocks or Samosa, how does it help other than the digital penetration in people's lives? How does it help the business? या main revenue driver क्या है Rocks का?
Okay, so देखिए, people want richer propositions, right? So there is our GSM business. People love getting those resources, whether it's the data or the minutes that they require for their communication. Along with that, they some of the value adds that are part of the Rocks offering, which is your handset gets insured while you're subscribed. You get a few vouchers, relevant businesses which are relevant to that audience, whether it's discounts on Zar, whether it is free access to free games, which is also something that we do, access to premium Tamasha content. All of that comes together. And interesting, आपको मैं बात बताऊं, if I remember the stats correctly, there are about 30% of the people who are active users of the non-GSM offering or the incremental offering that comes along with the GSM component. So देखें, that's where we want to take people towards कि यार आपका where you stop कि अच्छा मैंने इतने रुपए दिए और इतने MB मिले, right? Yeah, I mean, it's everyone's right to
Yeah,
know what
exactly.
they're
But
getting
वो
against
balance
what
ही मेरे
value,
ख्याल में
but we
सबसे
want
बड़ा
to kind of
challenge है,
make
because
the
हम जब वो
proposition richer,
पाकिस्तान की
right? Because
mass
we are in a
population की
position to
बात
do
करते हैं
so,
तो बड़ी
right?
price sensitive है.
And we believe that
और
people
especially
who are
media में you
engaged
mentioned
on
yourself कि
our
YouTube तो
customers
वैसे ही
on
एक free
multiple,
option है. फिर there is Netflix.
let's just say
That's also pretty
fronts,
affordable for the
sense कि यार
ones
आपने
जो
वो
कर
digitally
लेते हैं.
serve
तो
भी
to
किया,
find that
so there
balance
are
कि
some
आप फिर एक
exciting
ऐसा
discount, or let's just say
option लाएं
someone
जो local
comes,
audience के
wants to
साथ
know their balance,
relevant भी हो,
comes to Samosa,
but they pay you
आपने in
enough
parallel
for
उनको
you to
कहा
be
कि, you know
profitable.
what,
I
we
think
can
that's a
get some
tricky
great
balance.
value on this deal, you know, a freebie, or that enhances their experience with us, right? And you know what, you don't have to go to multiple fronts to access your other digital needs. We can give you direct access here. So these are things that increasingly people have started to value, and that's something where we will continue to make the experience the customers have with the whole Jazz world ecosystem richer. So lifestyle is a broad term, right? If when I was mentioning the different businesses that we are in, they are fairly diverse, right? Yeah. Healthcare versus video streaming versus fashion, e-commerce. They are very different businesses. Yeah. Our choice of the business line that we want to be more engaged in is driven by 2-3 things, right? A very clear vision and direction is that we want to be part of and solving national issues, right? We are a brand that touches all and is relevant to all Pakistanis. The businesses that we want to venture into are things which are relevant to most of the population, right? Insurance is something which is relevant to everyone, right? Handset insurance is one of our most popular products, right? For most of Pakistan, the handset or your mobile phone is probably the single most valuable movable asset. To insure it for maybe 100 rupiah, 200 rupiah mahana is something, and then
And
for
now,
even
now when you're saying तो मुझे
repairs and
realize हो रहा है
replacement and in case of theft and
thin
all of those
margins
things
के
are taken
साथ
care of. It's a massive
deal
shift
करना telco से बेहतर
in,
किसको आता होगा? Like we
how
already
you
struggle with the
secure
ARPU.
something which is relevant to you. And then there is insights. So Jazz Cash का जो हमारा loan product है, Ready Cash, we analyze किस चीज़ के ऊपर लोगों को लोन लेने की ज़रूरत पड़ती है. We found out healthcare emergencies needs is a very significant area. So हमने healthcare के ऊपर venture किया. Digitally providing healthcare can be far more economical for our audiences. It is relevant. हमने पहले भी बात की. It's more accessible, and also it's cheaper because it's efficient for the provider to provide that service. Yeah. और स्पेशलिस्ट है, आपको नंबर बताता हूँ कि पाकिस्तान में देयर इज़ 1 फिजिशियन to 1,000 पेशेंट, और स्पेशलिस्ट करूँ तो मेरा ख्याल है वो 17,000 का नंबर था. Do you expect someone sitting in a small गाँव में बैठा हुआ है नारवाल के करीब, उसको अगर कोई कार्डियोलॉजिस्ट जाना है, वो तो खैर तरह से और भी कॉमन होते हैं, कहाँ ढूंढता फिरेगा, किस अस्पताल में जाएगा? बट आपको डिजिटली आप उसको सर्व कर सकते हो. देयर इज़ अ लॉट ऑफ वर्क विच इज़ हैपनिंग. देयर आर सम ग्रेट NGOs, health tech startups who are looking to converge the physical and the digital, certain equipment that helps get health assessment and readings, which then a remote doctor and physician and a specialist can base their diagnosis on. So we believe that we want to be at the center of that, and again with that solve something which is a national problem. Entertainment remains something which is relevant to everyone. Tamasha, and with its peak top content, which is like a mainstream cricket event, goes up to 33 million MAUs, which is about 3.5 crore लोग एक देख रहे हैं एक प्लेटफॉर्म को. So we want to kind of build businesses which are relevant to larger audiences.
अच्छा, मुझे वो coherence नज़र आ रही है. So I am seeing this from a consumer behavior POV that you're building these things seem distinct but they are kind of converging. लेकिन फिर भी आपने शुरू में भी बात खुद मेंशन की है कि ये सारे जो प्लेटफॉर्म्स हैं ना ये डिस्टिंक्ट हैं. हेल्थ केयर कहाँ है और फिर ज़र कहाँ है. तो डज दैट मेक इट डिफ़िकल्ट? बिकॉज आप किसी भी एक प्लेटफॉर्म को देखें या पेरेंट कंपनी को देखें तो there has to be some strength at core जो सारे वेंचर्स को ड्राइव करती है, राइट? तो जैज़ की कौन, एंड आई नो कि हमारी काफ़ी चीज़ें ओवरलैप कर रही हैं, रिपेटिटिव हो रही हैं, बट द पॉइंट इज़ जस्ट टू रीइंफोर्स. सो जैज़ की कौन सी कोर स्ट्रेंथ थी दैट मेड इट पॉसिबल कि आप इतने डाइवर्स प्लेटफॉर्म्स को लॉन्च कर सकें?
Knowing our customer. I think that our biggest strength is our customer analytics, data, and segmentation, right? That's something that we've worked over the years. Our consumer insights business is probably something that we have really heavily invested in to a point where Technosis is an independent, or it's a group company, but something where analytics is something which we track independently as well through our data lake, right? And that's what helps us identify the right businesses. We're not, our approach is more collaborate than compete when it comes to venturing into new areas. So a lot of businesses that we get the insight that this is something which is required. We respect people who are subject matter experts of that space, whether it be the insurance business, whether it's the health business, or e-commerce, or any other business for that matter. And we play to our strengths, which is the ability to build brands, create brands, do the tech, and also understand the customer and scale products and businesses, and then work with people who specialize in those areas to build products together. And I'll give you the example of insurance, right? So insurance is something that we've kind of worked with for a few years. Fikrfree as a platform came up in about a year and a half ago, right? So we integrated some of the key insurance players who were very good at corporate insurances and B2B relationships. Less so when it comes to consumer insurances. Kind of work with them to define products which we believe are more consumer friendly, easy to generate trial, get people accustomed to insurance. And then we went ahead and invested in buying TPL Insurance, which you must have heard that in the news, which will now become a Jazz World company. Just so that we can, we are closer to the business and run it in a big way. So yes, we get a company which has all the relevant stature in the insurance industry, the licenses, but the most important thing, it brings us those expertise of people who know the insurance business at its core, right? Just so that we can build products which are relevant to our customers. They are priced in a way which they are easily consumable, and then we control the complete ecosystem of making sure that the experience that people have with insurance, whether it is raising a claim, fulfilling the claim, the visibility they get on their policies, is optimized, where their confidence in that business stream goes up, and we are able to come out as a very dominant player in that space.
What I'm really appreciating is that there's a very efficient collaboration that you guys did with, if you're stepping into insurance, so there's like, you guys bring in your consumer knowledge and your digital expertise, and then there is insurance expert. So other than that, Tamasha की अगर हम बात करें तो naturally obviously पाकिस्तान जैसे मुल्क में अगर आप एक local initiative लाते हो तमाशा जैसा, तो sports streaming में there's still a chance that it would excel. बाकी Netflix is a big competition. So if you step into entertainment, drama, films, etc., तो उस हिसाब से like what's the vision, or are you optimistic कि तमाशा या इस तरह के local platforms prevail कर सकते हैं पाकिस्तान में?
I'm more than optimistic. I'm confident.
Okay.
Yeah, because देखिए जो insight एक local platform के पास है in terms of audience preference for content, वो नहीं हो सकती Netflix. So global player के कुछ
Netflix भी तो
advantages.
consumer behavior track करके कर ही सकता है.
I understand that, but are you a Netflix user?
Yeah.
How relevant do you feel? I want to get your view. And again, as I said, we are someone who looks at any business from a national or something that cuts across most of the segments of the country, right? So to the question that, do you believe that Netflix is relevant to someone living in Khanpur or Nawabshah?
No.
That's my point. We want to build things. We need our products to be suited and customized for our broad audiences, right? If you ask me, our primary competition, if for want of a better word, would be YouTube. That is probably the most consumed, well consumed streaming platform right now.
The audience is broader.
Yeah. देखिए मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल देता हूँ. I often talk about this thing. आप मुझे ये बताएं कि do you think हम growing up, maybe your elder family members इन पे कि हम तो सब सिनेमा में मूवी देखने जाया करते थे and all. So this was something which was a very awami entertainment, right? आज आप मुझे बताएं, when we look around, Pakistani movies are made and everything. What do you think has happened to the cinema industry?
It's going pretty downward.
It is downright, but it exists. But it's a very upmarket form of entertainment.
Yeah.
It's not an awami thing anymore, right?
Exactly.
Now, this is an insight that will trigger our business strategy when it comes to our Pakistani cinema. How do you bring, let's just say कि जो अभी 10 ईद के ऊपर फिल्में बनी पाकिस्तान के अंदर, how does someone living in, again, for want for better way, Nawabshah, watch that movie? They can't. It's not available on YouTube, right? It's not available in a cinema which is maybe 200 kilometer radius of where the person lives. We need to provide them, make sure that it reaches that audience, right? And then, of course, there might be a commercial angle to it, but nonetheless, their primary थिंग इज कि यार अगर एक लोकल कंटेंट प्रोड्यूस हो रहा है वो भी लोग नहीं कंज्यूम कर पा रहे, देन देयर इज अ गैप, एंड अ गैप always means an opportunity, right? So that's what I'm saying. That's something that Netflix or a global platform probably would not be able to do. They will not be able to. Yes, we are very lucky that most of these international platforms have a subsidized price for Pakistan, right? And Netflix be sasta, but then again, may still not be in reach of a broader
Pakistani population.
Persona.
तो इस हिसाब से अगर आप देखें तो एक मेन यूएसपी जो आपकी मुझे नज़र आ रही है तमाशा पे, द विजन इज कि उसको लोकली रेलिवेंट बनाना है.
Absolutely, that's very.
But how? Like Pakistani films उस पे फीचर होंगी, कंटेंट फीचर होगा.
use this as an example. देखिए एक बड़ा क्लियर हमें लोगों के वॉच बिहेवियर्स हैं. Again, I'll give you an example. पाकिस्तानी कंटेंट जो हम हमेशा से ड्रामे देखते आए हैं टीवी के ऊपर. Now even the TV dramas are being consumed on YouTube.
Exactly.
In most households. It was very fascinating. So what I like personally doing is going and engaging with our customers in their space. So this is some time ago. I was in this university in Faisalabad, which is not a premium university. It's a, let's just say, a representative of a broad middle class of the country. And जो उधर मेरा वो था कि जी हाँ हम ड्रामे देखते हैं, दैट्स द प्राइमरी थिंग दैट वी वॉच, बट वी वॉच इट ऑन यूट्यूब. कैसे जी? हाँ अम्मी वगैरह के साथ हम बैठ के देखते हैं. वो हम HDMI से अपना लैपटॉप जो है वो घर की स्क्रीन पर लगाते हैं और हम देखते हैं. नाउ दिस इज़ एन इनसाइट. अब आपने ये है कि लोगों का जो बिहेवियर है वो इज़ गोइंग टूवर्ड कंज्यूमिंग कंटेंट डिजिटली. हाउ आर वी रेलेवेंट टू दैट? सो अब लोग ड्रामे देखते हैं, लोग क्रिकेट देखते हैं, लोग और स्पोर्ट्स भी देखते हैं, लोग उसके अलावा इंटरनेशनल कंटेंट देखते हैं, लोग यूज़र जनरेटेड कंटेंट पसंद करते हैं और उनके लिए बहुत सारे मुख्तलिफ प्लेटफॉर्म्स डिफरेंट होते हैं, राइट? सो वी नीड टू सी विच इज़ द स्पेस विच इज़ मोस्ट रेलिवेंट फॉर तमाशा, एंड अ डिजिटल प्लेटफॉर्म गिव्स यू द फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी इन टर्म्स ऑफ the amount of content that it can contain, and it has to be a win-win. The consumer gets to have a diverse content options. The creators, it has to make sense for them, and it has to make sense for us to kind of bring it out there to our consumers. So as we are able to balance that equation, I think we're in a great place.
Yeah, exactly. But वो balance ही मेरे ख्याल में सबसे बड़ा challenge है, because हम जब वो पाकिस्तान की मैस पॉपुलेशन की बात करते हैं तो बड़ी प्राइस सेंसिटिव है, और स्पेशली मीडिया में यू मेंशनड योरसेल्फ कि यूट्यूब तो वैसे ही एक फ्री ऑप्शन है, फिर देयर इज़ नेटफ्लिक्स, दैट्स आल्सो प्रीटी अफोर्डेबल फॉर द वंस जो कर लेते हैं. तो टू फाइंड दैट बैलेंस कि आप फिर एक ऐसा ऑप्शन लाएं जो लोकल ऑडियंस के साथ रेलिवेंट भी हो, बट दे पे यू इनफ फॉर यू टू बी प्रॉफिटेबल. आई थिंक दैट्स अ ट्रिकी बैलेंस.
इट इज़ ट्रिकी. इंटरेस्टिंग आपको चीज़ बताऊँ कि विद सर्टन कॉन्टेंट हमने एड and ad free को दोनों को किया. There are takers of the ad free. People are willing to pay to get an ad free experience. Then obviously ads is something that we have been attuned to consume with content. You know, हमेशा से देखते आ रहे हैं because free to air channels ही हैं सारे, even regular broadcast पे. So we again, for anything to be sustainable, Yusra, it has to make sense for all stakeholders, right? We will again, the way as we are a brand that serves across all segments, we are fully aware of the price sensitivities of various customer segments. अब अगर तो price sensitivity telecom service को लेकर है, then it would cut across all services, right? So we are conscious of that. Probably we know it better than a lot of other businesses. We want to use that, as an advantage, as opposed to something that scares us from venturing into different businesses, right? Healthcare, I'll come back to healthcare, right? You have seen people wait many an hour just to get a subsidized healthcare service, right? So उनके लिए matter करती है वो चीज़, and we want to make sure that हम सर्विस को उनकी प्राइस सेंसिटिविटी देखते हुए प्राइस ऐसे करें कि इंतज़ार भी ना करना पड़े, एंड येट यू गेट अ सर्विस विच इज़ रिलेटिवली चीपर देन गेटिंग अ प्राइवेट डॉक्टर एंड ऑल. सो ये इट विल ऑलवेज रिमेन a primary factor or consideration set whenever we are designing any product.
And now when you're saying, तो मुझे realize हो रहा है कि thin margins के साथ deal करना telco से better किसको आता होगा? Like we already struggle with the ARPU.
Glad I brought a eureka moment for you. Yeah, so you're right. So this is an inherent advantage.
Yeah.
And एक आपका पहले सवाल था कि जी I don't want to address that कि यार ये businesses बहुत मुख्तलिफ हैं and how do they come together. ठीक है, ये सारी चीज़ें एक normal life and the word lifestyle I'll bring it, के अंदर एक important factors हैं. So होता है ना अक्सर कि जी मैं सुबह उठा, मैंने ये किया वो किया, and when you count the things which are common to most people, it is important to reflect where do you fit in for each of them, right? Do people watch videos? Yeah, we are in that space. Do people play games? Yes, we are in that space. Do they listen to music? Yes, we are in that space. Do people check, their financial status? Do they make transactions? Yes, we are in that space. On and off, do they need something related to health? Yes, we are in that space. Is there a growing tendency to buy things online or check things online which they could potentially buy? Yes, we are in that space, right? So again, and then Samosa being from mera balance kitna hai ya meri aur kya, faith ka section, some of these other sections, yes, it gives you that space. तो उस लिहाज से देखा जाए, a lot of these things have been stem from our core Vion vision. So Vion is our parent company. उसका जो vision है, it's the DO 1440 strategy, right? The DO 1440 strategy is that we are a digital operator which is relevant to the customer for the entire 1440 minutes of the day, right? That's where it all stems from. When you look it out and then break it down, what do the customers do in the 1440 minutes? And आपको multiple, oh यार हम ये भी कर सकते हैं, वो भी कर सकते हैं, ये हम already कर रहे हैं, and it kind of things start falling into place.
Yeah, exactly.
Where they may be very different in each other, in terms of nature of.
That's what I was saying. कि वो lifestyle, while these seem very distinct, this is just how an average person would, all the things that they would access digitally on a day-to-day basis. So while being distinct, they're all converging to one point very seamlessly. And digital ecosystem की हम बात करते हैं तो we can't not talk about where the future is heading. तो जब आप जैज़ के बोर्ड रूम्स में या JLV के बोर्ड रूम्स में बैठते हैं तो हॉटेस्ट टॉपिक क्या होता है? AI की बात होती है. क्या चीज़ होती है जिससे आप सब परेशान हैं सबसे ज़्यादा?
So देखें AI, for sure you nailed it right in the first attempt. वजह उसकी क्या है? We see it as a tool through which we can optimize the way we do business. And also more importantly, we can be more granular in understanding our customer, right? Yeah. और जब आप बात करते हैं combining these very distinct businesses, the role that AI can play is quite phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because एक journey है ना customer की. What we are looking to do is to combine the analytics and the engagement or of these things to certain tools where we know exactly how a customer navigates through their entire experience with us, right? Now, when you have that knowledge and then you have and you kind of top it up with AI, so the way you can engage with the customer is just brilliant, right? आप समोसा पे आए किसी वजह से किसी मकसद के लिए भी आए, if you are feeling under the weather, right? Where does that kind of journey take you to the right place? They kind of hold your hand to that AI tool that which helps us understand based on symptoms, direct what the next course of action should be. Should they meet a consultant and then help them identify the right medicines, to suggesting if they need to get insured, what is the most relevant insurance for them. So you can really shape, and it's not from a commercial perspective entirely, but in terms of the ease of use that you can provide to the customer, right? How specific can your customization of be for that customer, in their journey. So that remains our primary agenda. And the other factor is how ready are we as a team, not just Jazz Lifestyle Ventures, but across Jazz World, and to be equipped with all the new ways of doing work, because it'll be, if efficient ways are there and we choose to do it the traditional way, that kind of takes away the edge we pride ourselves in terms of being a frontier player in kind of identifying evolving behaviors and building businesses based on that, rather than someone who's just kind of catching up, right? So we don't want to be a company that catches up. We want to be someone who kind of are trailblazers into anything which helps us be in the right business, do it in an efficient way, and have the process around that.
Yeah, with Jazz has been it has been like a good contributor in Pakistan's digital and telco ecosystem. अच्छा, हम लोग AI की बात कर रहे थे, तो for sure consumers के लिए चीज़ें आसान हो जाएंगी. आपके processes भी जितने lean होंगे, the more efficient it is through AI, it makes the service more affordable for the audience as well. लेकिन एक और यहाँ पे element है जो कि आपके employees या workforce का, ठीक है, which takes me to the youth today. Career wise, AI is the biggest threat these days. डरे हुए हैं लोग. अब मेरी एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग ये है कि या तो आप हार्डकोर टेक और AI डिग्रीज करें या वो एक्सपर्टीज़ हासिल करें, बट देन देर आर पीपल जो ऑलरेडी डिफरेंट स्पेसेस में हैं, वो बिजनेस में हैं, प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट में हैं. लाइक जैज सीम्स टू ब्रिंग टुगेदर डिजिटल and other ventures like lifestyle healthcare together very seamlessly. What do you think कि AI और कौन सी फील्ड्स के साथ इंटीग्रेट हो सकता है, और ग्रेजुएट्स को अब AI या टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ साथ कौन सी फील्ड्स हैं जिनको टैप करना चाहिए टू बी अहेड ऑफ अदर्स इन द फ्यूचर?
सो देखिए, मेरे ख्याल से इट्स समथिंग जो कि will inevitably impact certain roles. अब चाहे वो as an organization also, and as I mentioned, this remains the main topic in our office, that how do we enhance the skills. I wouldn't use the word reskill, but also enhance the skill across all functions at all work levels, just so that we are better equipped to do that. We see it as an opportunity, because agar koi if there is a tool that helps increase the efficiency or productivity of a team, an individual, और जिस path पे हम लोग हैं of venturing into very new, lots of new ventures.
Yeah.
So people or, with AI enabled people can help us really expedite the, our journey to our ambitions, right? So that's how we are seeing it. That's why we are, strongly encouraging and nudging people internally to do that, right? Now, this has a bada clear एक catalyst impact होता है which cuts across all the partner companies that we work with as well, right? There are multiple companies जिनके साथ हम काम करते हैं, कुछ service provision, कुछ infrastructure. So we would want to be in a place where we become a company that is motivates others to or we create a path that is easier for them to follow as well, right? And again, for the younger audiences, देखिए अच्छी बात ये है कि a lot of AI learning is something which is not necessarily institutional dependent, right? Because आपने एक certain subjects करने पढ़ने होते हैं and all that, वो institution driven होते हैं. AI again is one of those things which is driven by a skill and understanding of a space which helps people to adapt to it early if they have the intent to do so. आप ये देखें, if you go back, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years, जहाँ पे ये coding and software development हुआ था, yes, many institutes came up that taught, but there is a big population which is self-taught, right? आप ये the likes of Fiverr and some of the others, वहाँ पे I found that a very interesting space. So थोड़ा सा मैंने उसके ऊपर समझने के लिए टाइम लगाया था. So a lot of the people who are there showcasing their, or putting their work out there are the ones जिन्होंने खुद सीखा होता है.
Absolutely.
So that's why I'm not terribly worried कि एकदम से होगा कि लोग नौकरियां ख़त्म और कोई और काम करें. Things will evolve. Yes, there may be a period where there are certain roles which may not be relevant, but then there are the others which are coming up, because organizations are also careful not to necessarily disrupt their business and operations. So they will ease into that, which gives us enough headway and room for our younger or people coming into the workspace now to make sure they tailor their skills for the new world we are looking at.
Okay, so you seem to be optimistic about it.
An eternal optimist that I am, right?
I'm seeing that.
So but all the indications are right. But I would rather be them who are getting started with their careers now, as opposed to someone who's mid-career and their work is something which is easily replaceable, and at that juncture you are less averse to some radical changes in your whether it's your work, income and all. That would be a bigger concern for me.
Exactly.
And who resists that change.
वही that was the point कि जो अभी कर रहे हैं, who are setting off, they can still choose what's new, but the ones who are already in the mid of their career journeys, they also need to know कि मुझे सबसे ज़्यादा टेंशन होनी की होती है कि प्लीज़ उनके लिए कुछ बताएं how they can catch up to the changing trends, because it's inevitable now. AI technology, you cannot hide from it anymore. But this was very insightful. I think ये मेरा एक personal curiosity भी थी to understand how JLV works, because it's diverse, yet I was pretty sure that Jazz must have had a very strong strategy to fuel all of these platforms. So thank you so much for all the insights. It was wonderful talking to you.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.